Yes, I can help with Joshua Selma N sermons. Apostle Joshua Selma N is a Nigerian Christian minister, teacher, and founder of Monomania. His sermons are widely known for their depth, strong scriptural foundations, and emphasis on spiritual growth, intimacy with God, destiny, leadership, and the ministry of the Holy Spirit. Today is not an ordinary Thursday. This is a spiritual gate, a prophetic junction in time, where your words become the architects of your outcomes. Every new day is a portal, and whoever speaks first, you or the enemy, determines the spiritual climate that governs the hours ahead. Everything in the realm of the spirit responds to voices, and silence is never neutral. If you do not decree, something else will decree over you. Speak until your spirit agrees. Speak until your atmosphere shifts. Speak until the peace of God settles upon your heart. This is not motivation. This is legislation. You are instructing creation, commanding alignment, and activating covenant realities. Every new day is more than a sequence of hours. It is a spiritual gate, a doorway that determines what can enter and what can find expression in your life. Many people wake up thinking a day is simply a calendar event, but in the realm of the spirit, each day is a platform where voices contend for influence. From the moment you open your eyes, the atmosphere around you is already in negotiation. Darkness does not wait for your permission to operate. It waits for your silence. A gate is a place of authority, a place of control, and a place where decisions are made. In ancient times, whoever controlled the gate controlled the city. Likewise, whoever speaks first into a day establishes the spiritual climate that governs the rest of the hours. A day is not governed by human activity alone. It is governed by utterances, what is declared, permitted, and prohibited. Many people walk into days that were programmed long before they woke up. If you rise casually, without intentional declarations, you become a victim of atmospheres that were already spoken into by forces you cannot see. The realm of the spirit does not honor ignorance, it honors laws. One of those laws is the law of first speaking. The first voice at a gate sets the precedence. If darkness speaks before you do, you simply walk into a script that is not yours. But when you rise and lift your voice, you reclaim the authority that was given to you. You legislate. You take charge of the environment. You define what is allowed and what must bow. Every day carries prophetic possibilities, but they only respond to deliberate engagement. Days do not bless you automatically. You speak blessings into them. Days do not favor you on their own. You summon favor into them. When you understand that a day is a gate, you stop treating mornings as routine moments. You begin to approach them with spiritual intelligence. The enemy understands this more than many believers. That is why manipulations, attacks, temptations, distractions, and discouragement often appear early in the day. It is a strategy to gain early dominance. If your emotions speak before your spirit speaks, your day will obey your emotions. If fear speaks before faith speaks, your atmosphere will reflect fear. If anxiety speaks before revelation speaks, then confusion will decorate the hours. But if you wake up with a consciousness of spiritual gates, you realize that your first words are like keys. They unlock, they lock, they open, they shut, they permit, and they forbid. When you speak into a new day, you are not performing a religious ritual. You are establishing spiritual boundaries. You are saying, this day will not submit to negativity. You are saying, I refuse unproductive patterns. You are saying, I command angelic assistance. I declare favor. I reject manipulation. These are not empty words. They are decrees that alter the unseen realm. When your words are filled with faith, revelation, and authority, the forces of heaven respond. The day becomes obedient to your declarations. What was meant for evil is reversed. What was delayed begins to accelerate. What was hidden becomes revealed. What was closed begins to open. Every day contains a mixture of possibilities, some divine, some demonic, and it is your voice that separates them. When you speak early, you align with heaven before the enemy aligns against you. You give your day an instruction. You tell your morning what to deliver. You order your hours like a commander sending soldiers into assignment. That is why it is risky to remain silent. Silence is agreement. Silence is permission. Silence is surrender. But speaking is dominion. Speaking is legislation. Speaking is the act of a believer who understands that life does not respond to intentions. It responds to declarations. And when you become the first voice at the gate, the rest of the day becomes a servant to your words. Silence is never an empty space. In the realm of the spirit, silence is a language, a permission, and a doorway. Many people think that by saying nothing, they are neutral. But neutrality does not exist in spiritual matters. The realm of the spirit is always active, always speaking, always negotiating, and always legislating. If you choose not to speak, something else will speak in your place. If you choose not to declare life, circumstances will declare what they want. If you choose not to establish divine order, the enemy will introduce his own order. Every time you remain silent, you unconsciously sign an agreement with whatever has already been announced over your day. Silence becomes agreement when you fail to challenge a verdict. It becomes consent when you do not raise your voice in the face of negative patterns. Spiritual battles are not always won by strength, they are won by voice. When you are silent, you leave your environment unguarded. An unguarded environment attracts intrusion. Just as an unlocked door invites whoever wants to enter, an unopened mouth invites whatever wants to settle. When you do not speak, you give evil permission to remain. When you do not declare new possibilities, old cycles continue unchecked. When you do not resist negativity, you allow it to take root. The enemy thrives in silence because silence gives him room to operate without resistance. Even fear grows in silence. Fear becomes empowered when you do not confront it verbally. Doubt becomes stronger when you do not answer it. Anxiety multiplies when you do not decree peace. Your silence becomes the soil in which unwanted seeds grow. There are voices that speak even when you do not hear them, voices of past failures, voices of generational patterns, voices of negative experiences, voices of delay, voices of fear, voices of accusation. These voices whisper intentions into your day, hoping you will remain silent long enough for them to manifest. When you choose silence, you allow these invisible broadcasts to become the script of your day. But when you open your mouth and speak with authority, you interrupt their influence. You override their predictions. You cancel their announcements. You become the dominant voice over your atmosphere. Every believer has been given spiritual authority, but authority is dormant until it is expressed. Authority does not function through thoughts alone. It functions through words. Even God himself brought creation into existence through speech. He did not think light into existence. He commanded it. This is a principle. Whatever you refuse to speak, you cannot fully manifest. If your life is quiet, it is often because your declarations are quiet. If your breakthroughs seem delayed, it may be because your voice has been delayed. Silence ties the hands of your own potential. When you speak, you release angels. When you speak, you activate spiritual laws. When you speak, you set boundaries and establish instructions. When you remain silent, you leave your life to chance And chance is often influenced by forces you cannot see. The enemy's greatest strategy is to silence the believer through discouragement, busyness, distraction, or emotional weariness. The moment your voice stops rising, your atmosphere stops resisting. Atmospheres do not obey silence, they obey commands. You cannot think your way out of a spiritual attack. You must speak your way out. Silence also allows internal storms to grow. Thoughts become louder when your voice is quiet. A depressed soul grows darker when no words of hope are spoken. A confused heart becomes heavier when no declaration of clarity is made. Your words bring alignment to your inner world. When your mouth stays silent, your mind becomes noisy. Speaking is not just for your environment, it is for your spirit. When you speak, your spirit rises. When you speak, your faith awakens. When you speak, your mind stabilizes. That is why silence is dangerous. It gives room to both external and internal forces to dominate. The enemy thrives when you say nothing. Life responds when you say something. Silence invites darkness. Speech invites light. When you understand this truth, you stop treating silence as harmless. You begin to use your voice as a weapon, because in the spirit, your voice is not just communication, it is legislation, protection, and warfare. Your words are not ordinary expressions, they are spiritual laws that carry creative power, legislative authority, and prophetic influence. In the natural realm, words may appear simple, but in the realm of the spirit, words are forces. They travel, they shape, they build, they uproot, they summon, they scatter, and they redirect. Every time you speak, you release something into motion, either divine or destructive. Nothing you say is ever empty. This is why Scripture repeatedly emphasizes the power of the tongue. It births life or death. It blesses or curses. It opens or closes doors. It strengthens or weakens atmospheres. Your words function as spiritual laws because they command responses in the unseen realm. Words are the major tools through which the believer participates in the realm of the spirit. You cannot touch the invisible with your hands, but your words can reach depths your body can never access. Words pierce realms. Words alter spiritual verdicts. Words summon angelic intervention. Words resist demonic intentions. When you decree, you are not merely speaking, you are legislating. You are passing spiritual judgments. You are signing decrees that heaven honors. Your voice becomes an extension of divine authority when it is aligned with truth, faith, and revelation. That is why spiritual maturity is revealed by how you speak, not just how you pray. It is shown in the quality of your declarations, the strength of your convictions, and your understanding of the creative and judicial power embedded in your utterances. When you speak in alignment with God's will, heaven must respond. That is not arrogance. It is spiritual protocol. The realm of the spirit is governed by words. Even angels move at the sound of commands saturated with faith. They respond to declarations because they are messengers assigned to execute spiritual instructions. When you remain casual with your words, you remain casual with your destiny. When you choose to speak with intentionality, you begin to see results that others call miracles. Many breakthroughs do not manifest because people think their tears or desires alone can change situations. But in the realm of the spirit, authority is expressed by speaking. Tears touch God, but decrees move creation. Your words also determine the boundaries of your experiences. If you constantly speak defeat, defeat begins to structure itself around your life. If you speak fear, fear becomes the architect of your decisions. If you speak discouragement, your environment absorbs that frequency. Words have atmospheres. They create climates. They attract realities consistent with their nature. Just like seeds, they produce after their kind. A seed of doubt produces a harvest of instability. A seed of faith produces a harvest of victory. A seed of negativity produces a harvest of frustration. But a seed of prophetic declaration produces a harvest of alignment and favor. Understanding that your words are spiritual laws means you handle speech with responsibility. You do not speak carelessly, because careless words become careless outcomes. You do not speak defeat in moments of frustration, because the spirit realm does not understand jokes, sarcasm, or emotional outbursts. It only understands authority and instruction. That is why people sometimes say things in anger that later manifest in painful ways. They did not realize they were legislating in a vulnerable moment. You must train yourself to speak with precision. Speak what you want to see, not what you feel. Speak the truth of God's word above the noise of your circumstances. Speak possibilities even when your environment contradicts them. The moment you declare a thing with conviction, you release spiritual codes that rewrite the patterns of your life. Your words create pathways. Your declarations carve openings. Your voice becomes the tool through which God partners with you to establish His will. When you treat your words as spiritual laws, you stop complaining and start commanding. You stop lamenting and start legislating. You stop echoing problems and start releasing solutions. You rise above emotional reactions and step into spiritual authority. Life is shaped in the direction of your declarations. What you say consistently becomes what you live eventually. Your words, when backed by revelation, become one of the greatest forces that govern your destiny. Prophetic declarations are more than positive confessions. They are spiritual weapons designed to break demonic agendas, dismantle evil patterns, and establish divine order. Every time you open your mouth to declare the word of God with conviction, you interrupt the operations of darkness. Demons do not fear your emotions, but they fear your revelation-based utterances. They fear the authority behind your words when you speak as one who understands their identity. Prophetic declarations are not wishful statements. They are spiritual commands that carry the weight of heaven's authority. Every decree you make in alignment with God's truth becomes a hammer that shatters invisible structures, a sword that cuts through resistance, and a trumpet that announces victory in realms beyond the natural. Many destinies remain delayed because the enemy's agenda was never confronted. What you do not challenge will continue. What you do not resist will persist. Darkness thrives in environments where believers refuse to speak. The enemy's assignments are often subtle, patterns of delay, cycles of disappointment, emotional instability, sudden attacks, confusion, or strange setbacks. These do not disappear automatically. They are broken when confronted by prophetic words spoken in faith. A prophetic declaration carries the power to tear down strongholds because it is backed by divine law. When you decree restoration, you are not just hoping. It is a command that heaven enforces. When you declare breakthrough, you are not imagining openness. You are opening gates in the realm of the Spirit. When you speak healing, you release forces that counter whatever sickness is working behind the scenes. Demonic agendas are often built on lies, fear, and legal grounds. They depend on silence and ignorance to function. But the moment you speak prophetically, you disarm their influence. A prophetic declaration confronts the lie and replaces it with truth. It confronts fear and introduces faith. It breaks legal grounds and establishes new spiritual verdicts. This is why the enemy fights your voice. He tries to discourage you, confuse you, silence you, or overwhelm you emotionally, because he knows your declaration is a weapon that can overturn everything he has built. He knows that one sentence spoken with revelation can cancel years of demonic programming. He knows that one decree can shut the mouth of the accuser and destabilize his operations. Prophetic declarations also establish divine order. The reason many people wake up to chaos emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or circumstantially is because divine order was never declared over their environment. Your atmosphere does not align itself automatically. You must command order. You must summon peace. You must speak stability. You must decree direction. When your environment hears your voice repeatedly, it begins to obey. When your mind hears truth frequently, confusion loses its grip. When your emotions hear declarations of peace, anxiety dissolves. When your day hears instructions of favor and progress, obstacles begin to shift in response. Divine order means things fall into their proper sequence spiritually and naturally. You cannot walk in consistent alignment without consistent declarations. God himself brought order to chaos by speaking, "Let there be." That same principle governs your life. You do not wait for order to happen, you speak it into existence. You call forth what should be and silence what should not be. You cancel demonic projections and announce divine possibilities. Every declaration becomes like a blueprint handed to the realm of the Spirit. Angels use it as a guide to execute heaven's will on your behalf. Prophetic declarations also create a protective shield around your destiny. They form a spiritual barrier that the enemy cannot easily penetrate. When you declare preservation, your steps become supernaturally guided. When you declare victory, defeat loses its authority. When you declare favor, doors open without explanation. When you declare clarity, confusion retreats. A prophetic word spoken consistently can reverse a negative trend, heal a broken pattern, restore a damaged season, and usher you into a new level. Nothing changes until something is spoken. Nothing shifts until something is declared. Your declarations are not empty, they are spiritual transactions. They release forces that break what the enemy is building and establish what heaven desires. When you understand this, you no longer allow your day to unfold casually. You rise, you speak, you decree, and you legislate, knowing that your prophetic utterances carry the power to silence darkness and enforce divine order in every area of your life. Your Thursday, like every day, does not automatically deliver what you desire. It must be commanded, shaped, and instructed. Many people hope that a new day will be kind to them, that opportunities will appear, and that peace will surround them. But the spirit realm does not respond to hope alone. It responds to intentional declaration. A day is like a servant waiting for instruction. If you rise without speaking, the day remains empty, undefined, and vulnerable to any influence, good or evil. But when you speak into your Thursday with authority, you plant seeds of favor, align your environment with heaven's purpose, and take spiritual ownership of every hour that lies ahead. Commanding your Thursday means refusing to approach the day casually. There is a spiritual dimension to time, and if you treat days casually, you experience them casually. Every day comes with its own opportunities, battles, distractions, and possibilities, and only those who speak intentionally can channel those elements in their favor. When you declare blessings over your Thursday, you are not merely hoping for goodness, you are issuing an instruction that the hours must obey. You are telling your morning to bring clarity, your afternoon to bring productivity, and your evening to bring peace. You are shaping outcomes before they manifest. You are not reacting to your day, you are designing it. When you command your Thursday, you speak favor into it, not because you want to sound spiritual, but because favor is a spiritual force that responds to utterance. Declaring favor means you are summoning people, places, situations, and opportunities to work in your interest. You are calling forth helpers, aligning conversations, and positioning circumstances to honor you. Favor never appears randomly. It is attracted by intentional declarations spoken from a place of faith. Commanding favor means silencing the voice of rejection, breaking the pattern of missed opportunities, and opening your day to unexpected kindness and divine connections. You must also speak peace into your Thursday. Peace is not the absence of trouble, it is the presence of divine order. When you declare peace, you are commanding your emotions, thoughts, and atmosphere to align with stability. Many people carry yesterday's battles into today because they never commanded peace at the gate of the new day. Spoken peace restrains anxiety, breaks internal turbulence, and creates room for clarity. When you declare peace into your Thursday, you are telling your environment, I will not be overwhelmed. I will not be confused. I will not be manipulated. I stand in the calm authority of God's presence. Direction must also be commanded. A Thursday without direction becomes a day wasted. You must declare that your steps are ordered, that your discernment is sharp, that you know what to do, where to go, and who to avoid. Directionless hours are open doors for mistakes, delays, and unnecessary battles. But when you command direction, you activate divine wisdom that guides your decisions. You attract clarity. You silence distractions. You avoid traps designed to waste your time or drain your energy. Commanding direction ensures that you do not wander through your day guessing. You walk through your day knowing. Preservation is another element you must decree. A new day comes with new movements, new interactions, new environments, and sometimes unseen dangers. But when you declare preservation over your Thursday, you surround yourself with spiritual covering. You announce that no harm will come near you, that your going out and coming in is secure, that your health is protected, and that any evil programmed against your Thursday is cancelled. Preservation declares that you are not vulnerable to accidents, losses, or spiritual attacks. Commanding your Thursday also means refusing to accept anything that contradicts divine purpose. You reject negativity. You uproot fear. You cancel disappointment. You break cycles of delay. You refuse to carry old burdens into a new day. You boldly declare that your Thursday is a day of progress, not stagnation, a day of joy, not sorrow, a day of victory, not defeat. When you speak like this, you are not being dramatic. You are being spiritually intelligent. Days do not bow to silence, they bow to instruction. Your Thursday is waiting for your voice. If you do not command it, something else will. But when you speak with authority, you take charge, you establish order, and you ensure that every moment of the day serves your destiny rather than resists it. Atmospheres never respond to emotions, they respond to revelation. When you speak with understanding, your words carry weight. When you speak without revelation, your words become mere noise in the spirit. Many people talk a lot but see little because their declarations lack the spiritual substance that gives words authority. An atmosphere is more than the physical environment around you. It is the spiritual climate that influences behavior, thought patterns, decisions, and outcomes. Every life moves under an atmosphere, and every atmosphere is shaped by voices. But only revelation-based utterance has the power to shift that climate and enforce divine alignment. Revelation is what gives your words strength. It is possible to repeat powerful declarations, yet see no changes because you are speaking from memory rather than understanding. The spirit realm responds to conviction, not repetition. When you declare something from a place of spiritual clarity, your words become alive. They carry light. They carry spiritual codes. They penetrate darkness and demand obedience. Revelation transforms ordinary statements into prophetic decrees. It changes your tone from begging to legislating. It shifts your position from hoping to knowing. When you have revelation, you do not speak to inform God, you speak to enforce His will. Emotions are unstable and unreliable. One day they are high, another day they are low. If you wait for your emotions to align before you speak, you will be silent on the days you need your voice the most. Emotions may make you cry, but they do not make demons flee. They may make you feel overwhelmed, but they do not shift atmospheres. A fearful heart cannot stabilize a chaotic environment, but a heart grounded in revelation can silence storms. When you speak from revelation, even in emotional weakness, the atmosphere still responds because spiritual authority is rooted in truth, not in feelings. Utterances that carry revelation change the posture of your spirit. They elevate your perspective. They align your inner man with what heaven has already declared. They give you confidence even when your circumstances look opposite. When you speak with revelation, you are not trying to create something new. You are announcing what already exists in the spiritual realm. You are calling forth what God has already established. This is why atmospheres shift. Your words become a bridge between the unseen and the seen. Some people pray but still feel heavy because their declarations are emotional reactions instead of spiritual commands. They speak fear, then they speak faith. They speak defeat, then they speak victory. Their words contradict themselves because their hearts are not anchored in revelation. But when you understand who you are, what has been given to you, and the authority behind your voice, your declarations become consistent. You speak boldly. You speak with confidence. You speak with clarity. And the atmosphere recognizes the voice of authority. A revelation-filled utterance can change the climate in your home, your workplace, your relationships, or even in your mind. Depression responds to revelation-based words. Fear bows to revelation-based declarations. Confusion clears in the presence of a revealed truth. Spiritual warfare is not always about shouting louder. It is about speaking deeper. It is about speaking from a place of spiritual certainty. The enemy knows when your words come from revelation. He recognizes the sound. Revelation is what intimidated him during Jesus' temptations. Jesus did not speak emotionally. He spoke scripturally, accurately, and with authority. Revelation also stabilizes your declarations. You do not speak one thing today and another tomorrow. You do not declare healing and then cancel it with words of fear. You do not decree favor and then sabotage it with negativity. When your heart is anchored in revelation, your mouth becomes consistent. And consistency is what builds an atmosphere of sustained alignment. A stable spiritual climate requires stable declarations. Understanding that atmospheres respond to revelation-based utterance changes how you speak daily. You stop speaking from panic and start speaking from truth. You stop reacting and start legislating. You stop hoping your words will work and begin knowing that they must work. Every atmosphere, whether internal or external, bows to revelation. And when you speak from that position, you do not just survive the day, you govern it. You do not just endure the atmosphere, you transform it. Speaking early into your day is more than a routine spiritual practice. It is a deliberate act of empowerment that activates angelic support, disarms the influence of darkness, and sets the tone for victory long before challenges appear. When you rise in the morning and declare words of faith, authority, and truth, you create a spiritual momentum that carries you throughout the day. The first voice that speaks into your day becomes the architect of its outcomes. If you speak late, you are reacting. But if you speak early, you are governing. Your declarations become a shield, a compass, and a gatekeeper for everything that will unfold. When angels hear your voice, especially at the gate of the day, they respond because they are designed to obey spiritual instruction. Angels are servants of divine purpose, and your prophetic utterances give them assignments. If you declare preservation, they move to shield you. If you declare favor, they move to orchestrate connections. If you declare direction, they guide your steps. They do not move because of your emotions, they move because of your decrees. Early declarations give heaven a blueprint to follow. They assign order to what could have been chaotic. They open pathways you would never have opened by human effort alone. Speaking early also disarms darkness. The enemy often works through early impressions, fearful thoughts, negative dreams, discouraging emotions, strange delays, or sudden confusion. These are not random. They are attempts to take first influence over your atmosphere. But when you declare victory at the beginning of your day, you cancel whatever was whispered in the night. You interrupt demonic programming before it settles. You break spiritual projections before they manifest physically. A day that begins with bold declarations leaves no room for the enemy to plant fear, doubt, or distraction. Before he speaks accusation, you have already spoken truth. Before he speaks intimidation, you have already spoken faith. Before he attempts to manipulate your day, you have already legislated it. Early declarations also guide your inner world. A heart that begins the day with clarity does not easily bend to confusion. A spirit strengthened in the morning can withstand unexpected challenges. A mind aligned with truth does not become overwhelmed by pressure. Speaking early creates inner stability. It gives your spirit a head start. It positions your soul above circumstances. It lifts your emotions to the level of faith. Many people find their days difficult, not because the challenges are too great, but because they began the day spiritually empty. A spiritually empty morning creates a vulnerable day, but a spiritually empowered morning creates a victorious one. When you speak into your day early, you also set automatic boundaries. You are declaring what is permitted to enter your day and what is forbidden. You set spiritual expectations. You tell your Thursday, you will not bring confusion. You will not bring delay. You will not bring misfortune. You will not bring spiritual attacks disguised as failures or accidents. At the same time, you invite the things you desire. Bring favor, bring clarity, bring peace, bring opportunities, bring acceleration. You are not begging, you are legislating. You are not hoping, you are enforcing. This early legislation becomes the filter that screens everything that attempts to enter your day. Victory is not something you stumble into, it is something you speak into. Many believers wait until the middle of the day to declare what could have been settled in the spiritual realm hours earlier. But the realm of the Spirit honors priority. He who speaks first holds influence. By speaking early, you seize control before circumstances attempt to dictate direction. You shape outcomes before they form. You announce destiny before distractions arise. You instruct your environment before negative voices attempt to distort it. This is why early declarations are powerful. They align heaven, silence darkness, stabilize your spirit, and frame your day with divine order. They transform you from a passive observer into an active governor of your destiny. Your day becomes a field you harvest, not a battlefield you fear. Your hours become obedient to your voice because you planted the seeds of victory before the enemy could sow the seeds of defeat. When you understand this, you never begin a day casually again. You rise, you speak, and you establish your authority because the quality of your day often reflects the strength of your early declarations.